In the quiet woods of Oakenwood, a band of fearless squirrels found themselves in a dire standoff with a relentless pack of coyotes. With tails held high and determination in their eyes, they were prepared to defend their territory at any cost. But just as the tension reached its peak, something unexpected happened, leaving both the squirrels and the coyotes frozen in shock. Everything inside Park Ranger Kylian told him that these poor squirrels had no chance against these three bloodthirsty coyotes. Maybe a couple of them would make it out of this situation alive, but most of them would probably be used for dinner. But then something happened that would seemingly change everything. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Kylian had been following the pack of coyotes for a while now. He is a park ranger and was alerted to the presence of these animals by a couple of people hiking in the woods. Kylian was very unsure of what he was supposed to do in response. A group of coyotes in this area could spell trouble for some of the smaller critters in the forest, the animals he was supposed to protect. The coyotes had been very calm so far, walking through the forest at a leisurely pace. But suddenly, the nose of the pack leader went up in the sky and then down to the ground. The coyotes now started to increase their pace, and Kylian found that he had a lot of trouble keeping up with them. They were not a clear path or something. These animals were able to move through the thick of the forest at high speeds. He was getting nervous now. The animals were clearly moving toward a potential prey, and Kylian had no idea where they were. And then suddenly, he heard some commotion in the distance. Now Kylian had a target, and he started to rush in the direction of the sound. After about a minute of making his way through the vegetation as quickly as possible, Kylian finally stumbled on the animal again. The three coyotes were surrounding a huddled-together small group of squirrels. There had to be at least 5 or 6 of them. Slowly but surely, the coyotes were inching closer to the prey. But was he then supposed to jump in here to stop them? These coyotes also needed to eat. There was no evil intention whatsoever. He took a deep breath, and before the coyotes could strike, he jumped out of the bushes screaming and waving his hands. It distracted the coyotes for only a second, which was enough for the squirrels to make a run for it. But this situation was anything from over, as the hunters immediately set in the chase again, leaving Kylian behind. He did not even see the squirrels anymore, only the coyotes. And Kylian's heart dropped when they suddenly turned around and started running directly at him. Had the coyotes lost the squirrels, and were they now coming back at him to take revenge? But a split second later, he realized what was really going on. The squirrels were also coming in his direction, and before they could react, they suddenly all jumped on him and started hiding in his pockets. Kylian felt a shiver run down his spine. His initial fear of the coyotes' revenge was now replaced by a mix of astonishment and anxiety. Without warning, Kylian picked up a handful of loose pebbles and threw them towards a thicket on his right. The sudden movement and noise startled the coyotes, diverting their attention for a crucial moment. Using the tall trees as cover, he made a break for it, sprinting as silently as he could manage. The element of surprise was on his side, but he knew it wouldn't last long. As the shroud of night deepened, Kylian's steps became less certain. Suddenly, an unmistakable silhouette appeared amidst the trees, a cabin, old and weather-beaten, standing as a relic from another time. The door to the cabin creaked open with a push. Inside remnants of the past lay scattered. An old table, a broken chair, a fireplace long cold. He settled down, preparing for the long night. Kylian tossed and turned, his mind racing with the events of the day and thoughts of the journey ahead. Sleep came in short, fitful bursts, always overshadowed by the need to remain alert and ready. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the gaps in the cabin, Kylian roused from his uneasy sleep. Surveying the terrain outside, he knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges. As they moved through the valley, the relentless rain intensified, turning the forest floor into a quagmire. Kylian knew they needed to escape this treacherous zone swiftly. Suddenly, emerging from the tree line, the familiar silhouette of the coyote pack appeared. Their eyes, filled with predatory intent, locked on to Kylian and his companions. They began to circle Kylian and his group, eyes glinting with anticipation, their pace deliberate and intimidating. The animals huddled close to Kylian, their fear palpable. Kylian, drawing from his ranger training, began enacting a series of defensive maneuvers. First, he used the staff to create a barrier, swinging it with precision to keep the coyotes at bay. The constant mental and physical strain began to wear down on Kylian. The animals, sensing his exhaustion, became more agitated. Summoning the last reserves of his strength, Kylian planted his feet firmly and faced the advancing coyotes. He stood defiantly, brandishing his staff like a warrior of old. The animals rallied behind him, their collective will united against the threat. The squirrels climbed onto his shoulders, their tiny teeth bared, and the fawn adopted a protective stance. From the dense underbrush and towering canopies, other forest creatures began to emerge. A stout raccoon with a determined glare, birds with their feathers puffed out aggressively, even a skunk readying its potent defense. These animals, typically keeping their distance from each other, now joined Kylian's side. An unspoken understanding arose among them. Together, the coalition of creatures enacted a multi-pronged strategy. The bird swooped down, pecking and distracting. The raccoon dashed back and forth, its agility drawing the attention of several coyotes. Most impactful was the skunk, who sprayed a noxious mist, causing a few coyotes to retreat momentarily, eyes watering. Kylian and the squirrels capitalized on these distractions, hurling stones and sticks, forcing the predators to scatter and regroup. As the coyotes reeled from the combined defenses, Kylian spotted a narrow pathway through a thicket, leading to higher ground. Signaling to the animals, he began making his way there, the path just wide enough for the fawn and him to pass, yet too narrow for the pursuing pack to navigate swiftly. Despite the series of diversions, the coyotes' determination did not waver. Their pursuit was relentless. As they trekked on, the forest began to change. The trees grew older, their barks marked with familiar symbols Kylian remembered. A particular cluster of stones, a creek he had crossed during happier times. These landmarks signaled they were nearing the ranger outpost, a haven against the wild. Spirits lifted among the group. If they could just reach it, safety and refuge awaited them. Breaking through a final curtain of trees, Kylian's eyes caught the sight of salvation, the ranger station. Perched atop a small hill, its wooden walls stood tall, a beacon of hope against the treacherous wilderness. Frantically, Kylian reached into his pocket, fingers wrapping around a small metallic whistle. Bringing it to his lips, he blew a series of sharp, distinct notes, the universal distress call. It was a call of desperation, a plea for assistance, resonating with hope that the rangers within the station would hear and recognize its urgency. Within moments of the whistle's cry, the ranger station sprung to life. Lights began to flash, doors swung open, and the hum of activity grew louder. Rangers, trained for emergencies like this, mobilized swiftly. Armed with tranquilizers and protective gear, they formed a perimeter, ready to confront and deter any approaching threats. The coyotes, sensing this larger, more immediate threat, howled in fear and scattered in all directions. As days turned brighter, the squirrels that had clung to Kylian in their hour of need were now animated, their eyes gleaming with the spark of life. They chirped and nuzzled against Kylian's cheek, their way of saying goodbye. With a final glance, they scampered up the trees, their tails flicking in contentment. Emotionally enriched and with newfound wisdom, Kylian felt an even deeper connection to the forest that had been his home and sanctuary. With each passing day, Kylian patrolled the rejuvenated forest with a keen eye and listening ear, ensuring its continued prosperity. His bond with the forest creatures deepened, their trust in him evident as they came closer, no longer viewing him as an intruder but as a protector. As the sun set, casting golden hues over the trees, Kylian knew that his bond with this forest was an eternal one. transcending time and challenges.